navigate quagmires of the calendar year, the family Christmas dinner. Forget not mentioning the drama when Auntie Sue didn't buy presents for your brother's stepkids, or when your mother-in-law drank on medication and groped you during the washing up. I'm over it. Nowadays, more and more it seems that the old adage applies. You should never discuss religion and politics in polite society. Now, firstly, I'm sure Jesus wouldn't mind getting a mention on his birthday, Mazel Tov. But the point is, family is not polite society. Just look at the animals my lot turn into when the roast potatoes emerge. Still, a few years ago, in the aftermath of the 2019 general election, my sister put out a message on the family WhatsApp group that she was banning any mention of politics at the Christmas lunch she was hosting that year. Now, to which I informed her the turkey wasn't the only thing that could get stuffed. My wife and I were still emotionally bruised from fighting Corbynites and their supporters, some who turned out to be friends and neighbours, and even a few family. In the wake of losing work and my place amongst the community of the good, culminating in violent threats made against me, I vowed to never ever again let anyone ever shut me down. And now, here were my loved ones trying to do precisely that. In the end, we all had a family powwow on Zoom. Everyone got to calmly-ish explain their positions. A few tears were shed, misunderstandings were sorted, compromises made. Christmas dinner ended up being delicious and we had a great visit until my dad and I both got a bit drunk and started screaming at each other because he insisted on using inappropriate language in front of my kids, which ironically resulted in me using much worse language. The point is, I think it's not being able to talk about politics nowadays, even with your family, especially with your family, that is partly responsible for bringing us to this very toxic place in our society, where rather than listen, people throw eggs. Now, of course, there are others that'll say it's the chicken and the egg, that toxic politics is what got us here. Although, ironically, most of those people are unlikely to ever come on this channel, so we can talk it through. Now, I'm sure some of you will be around family members tomorrow who think that this channel's existence is wrong, even evil. Very nice people have come up to me in the street to say how much they love GB News and how much they appreciate its existence, but they have to keep it a secret that they watch us. And a few days ago, I had an old friend drunkenly admonishing me for even being on here and how disappointed he was in me. But I'll tell you what I told him with less swear words and slurring. Our bubbles, be they on social media or our friendship groups, are destroying us. That is why GB News exists. That is why it needs to exist, to pop the bubbles. Just like a family Christmas dinner can pop the bubble. There's a reason why the higher-ups here make a big deal about the people who work at GB News and you, our audience, all being a family. It's the reason why the channel won Most Loved Media Brand of the Year. What we're not trying to do is create just another bubble. We're not Fox News. Instead, we're creating a family, because with family, you talk and you listen. Family means that you don't have to agree about everything or even anything, but still you can say your piece and still you can be heard. Now, when I'm in the office back there before the show, the channel plays in the background, or when I'm driving with GB News on the radio, there are loads of opinions that make me shake or even slap my head in incredulousness. Sometimes I talk back to the empty air. And I bet I have elicited the same exasperated reaction over the last 2 years from many of you. And I'm not under any illusions that the majority of you will probably vote differently in the upcoming election, and that's fine. Yes, I still would have voted Remain. I'm still not a Trump supporter. I still think that net zero is needed. I still think immigration is necessary. But also, I have listened to those I wouldn't have been able to before. I understand the factors better for Brexit and agree with the necessity to solve them, if not the solution. I understand the dangers of the largest democracy in the world behaving in a non-democratic manner. I understand the route to net zero should be more flexible and transparent. And I think we need to control our borders to ensure our values are compatible with those who would join us and to not have our generosity exploited. The channel's critics argue that we stoke divisiveness. I'd argue it's the exact opposite. The real danger is when people don't feel heard, when we wail against the walls of our bubbles and only hear back echoes. If all you ever do is preach to the converted, you convert no one. We have to pop our bubbles. Then maybe we can find consensus, compromise and common ground. We need to have this space to be able to talk and to listen. like we have with our family. What do you think? gbviews@gbnews.com. I'll get your emails shortly, but first let's hear from tonight's top pundits, the enigmatic campaigner and author Chris Wilde, the irreplaceable broadcaster and comedian Sajila Kershi, and lovable political commentator and social worker Yosef David. Now, you're all here on the channel. Do you think that the channel actually helps public cohesion, or do you think it polarises people more?
I kind of agree with you in terms of the family thing. Like, I thought that was quite nice, because I've always felt...
Quite nice? Come on.
Quite
Give
nice.
me more than that.
No. Like, I mean, hello. I mean, it just started. Let me carry on. Let me continue. It is a family vibe when you get here. Like, I don't know what the naysayers think, that you come in and, you know, we have doing battle and stuff and kung fu and jiu-jitsu, whatever, to try and get to the studio because of all these haters around. And it's not like that at all. It's really lovely. The teams are lovely behind the script, you know, and everyone is on the first name terms, which I really like. It is lovely. Though I would disagree that it's like my family, because my family, nobody listens. We just talk over each other.
I mean, Chris, I mean, you're politically on the left, I think. Is that right to say?
Yeah,
I mean, do you get any grief from coming on the channel?
No, absolutely not. And just to give you a quick background, when I first started writing, I couldn't get any media stations to give me any kind of, like, publicity or anything. Mark brought me onto the show and gave me an interview. And I've always been open and honest and transparent about my political views. And every time I've come here, I've sat on quite a diverse panel, and I've given that freedom of speech. And I've always been really honest when I come here to say I'm not always going to agree with what GB News and what they put out there, but that freedom of speech is there for a reason. They've always been open and really welcoming for me to come on here and point my points of view out. And I've always been respected, and I respect people back, and that's how it works. I think to have that platform where you've got a diverse panel, you can have those debates, but they're not evil debates, they're not debates which are going to be disrespectful. We're talking about things which you know, we talk about behind closed doors, and I think that, for me, what GB News does, it gives you that space and that flexibility to express those opinions.
Absolutely. I mean, Yusuf, do you agree? I mean, you fought in the 2019 election famously against Corbyn, that great footage of you standing behind him and your wonderful eyebrows at work.
Well, so it's incredibly important in public discourse to be heard, but it's equally important to listen to things that you don't agree with. And that's why GB News is so important. It's allowed popular debates that were marginalised to come to the forefront. It's allowed communities that traditionally were ignored to be given a voice. So when people say that GB News has dirtied the waters or the discourse, they couldn't be more wrong. What it's allowed is for people who maybe wouldn't have been given the opportunity to have a media platform, to come here and to share their views. And actually, I think that's the reason why traditional media is so concerned. With regard to the person who threw the egg, unfortunately, we live in a society that rewards idiocy with attention.
But that's social media, that's Instagram, isn't it? That guy's doing it for likes. And
you're right, but that's the way we're going. This media is becoming ever more prominent. And for this chap who thought it was a good idea to come and throw an egg at a public broadcaster, he should probably reflect as to if that's something which is helpful in any way, or if it's going to just give him likes.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't push any dialogue further. I mean, Sajila, do you think that things have become less toxic, more toxic? I mean, arguably, as Yusuf was saying there, it's people not having a voice that led to things like Brexit.
Oh, I agree. Like when you
there were legitimate reasons as well, but there were also.
No, I agree.
People...
When you silence people, it's a recipe for disaster. But I mean, I'm not saying I agree with all the content, like yourself, or you said in your monologue. I don't agree with all the content. You know, sometimes when I listen, I'm like, what? But like someone like Mark would now, you know, come in the show. He lets me address that. And that's, we don't get that anywhere else. You don't get like. Someone saying, look, you don't agree with what we're saying, but what have you got to say in response to that? And that's a space that you wouldn't have in any other...
I agree with you, but it's also the same as, like, universities and the way we're going forward about... It's so important to have these debates. It's so important to be to have that division as well, because that's the only way you get any positive outcomes in these kind of...
But it's also how you come up with your own opinions.
Of course,
Again, in contrast to other people. I mean, do you guys talk politics with your family around the dinner table?
I absolutely do.
He's a politician.
Very much so. And for us, it's something that we enjoy talking about. And I think maybe it's not so controversial because we tend to share the same opinions. I think what you were describing is that there were some very disparate opinions, and that would bubble over. But I actually think that family is where you should share your most intimate opinions. That's where you should have that to and fro.
Yeah.
It should be a safe space. And what's happened recently is that we've become so entrenched in our ideologies that family meetings and gatherings have the potential for real arguments. What we need is to come to a realization that you can share love with someone who has a very different opinion to you. We have to share society with people who have very different opinions to us. And for me, coming on this show, I've interacted with more left-wingers, more people who are avidly in the centre than I would have otherwise. And I think that it's provided an opportunity to learn. If we think about when we change our opinions, it's usually when we've come across somebody who's really felt very strongly and argued a point very well. So it's about growth. Yeah. Life is about growth.
Absolutely. I mean, Cecilia, you've been on the channel since the beginning, really. Have you noticed... Because one thing I've noticed is there's definitely less... frankly, there's just less hate out there. Anyway, I mean, I'm getting it from other people, but the point is that when I came on the channel before, it felt like if you said an opinion that people disagree with, people would go bonkers. Whereas now, I think people are willing to listen and go, OK, that person's got that opinion, that person's that's different.
Well, point at hand is the trans debate, which, I mean, obviously, Andrew, I'm very grateful that Andrew Doyle got me on the channel, and that was such a toxic conversation. It was like, why have we shut everyone down? We can't talk about this. And as a woman, it was like, why? We're all talking amongst ourselves. And as you say, like, safe space in families, but like-minded people, like, we're all saying these things, but no one is giving that voice on a public platform. And I guess that did happen.
It moved the conversation.
It did. And then talking about families, like obviously when I'm on, my family watch, unbelievably, like a lot of the Asian community, believe it or not, they do watch it, and I really found that interesting. What so and so said this, and I like what they said, and I like what that said. And so they might not have watched normally, but then when they're watching it, they're also changing the way that they're thinking. And you said you've not had any hate like you, obviously, you get the I'm so disappointed, and I actually makes me more resolute. It's like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I make my own decisions. The fact that I'm an adult female, I can make my own decisions.
Well, I think we've all decided that we're pretty great. That was a very serious start. We're going to get a bit sillier later on. Right, we have 3 amazing prizes that are guaranteed to be won by one lucky viewer in our Great British Giveaway. £10,000 cash, tech and vouchers. That's mostly vouchers, I imagine. And if you haven't entered yet, why not? It's so easy. Here are all the details.
For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday, the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
Coming up next in the big story, we'll be joined by founder of Money Magpie, Jasmine Birtles, to discuss economic doommongers, rail fare increases and Christmas shopping footfall. I know you guys love a bit of Christmas shopping football talk. See you in 2.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel. Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show.
Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else.
We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride.
Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse.
It's news, but it's this close to entertainment.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's time now for the big story, and tonight we are talking big money. With fears that Britain is on the brink of a potential recession, Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has delivered some festive cheer by insisting that Britons can look forward to a brighter year ahead and that decisive action taken by the government means that Britain has turned a corner. But have we? To discuss this, I'm joined by founder of Money Magpie, Jasmine Birtles. Hello, Jasmine.
Hello there.
Are things genuinely looking up for next year, or is this Jeremy Hunt trying to put a positive spin on things?
Well, they do it every year. You know, whoever it is, whether it's the Prime Minister or in this case the Chancellor, every year around about this time they say, it's going to be a great year. No, really it is. Look at all the marvellous things that we've done. And, you know, he's got a point that much of the economy is about confidence. It really is. And we've been hearing this from retailers. They want to see more confidence in consumers. Confidence that they will be able to pay for purchases, so they'll go around. So the more confidence there is, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. However, Jeremy Hunt himself and this government has done everything they possibly could, it seems to me, to dampen down our economy. Certainly when it comes to taxes, we are way more taxed now than we were just 5 years ago. It's horrendous. We have big problem with interest rates when it comes to borrowing, and this is already affecting mortgages, it's affecting the housing market, and it's certainly affecting businesses. And what I've been saying for a little while now is that I personally am more concerned about recession than I am about inflation. And I am concerned that the Bank of England and the government generally seem to be obsessed with bringing down inflation. Whereas really, to my mind, the main problem, the big boogie bear that's sort of coming up potentially is recession.
I mean, linking to that, I mean, it's been reported that this year's Christmas Eve, the shop footfall is down about 30% compared to last year. Do you think that the economy has really hit retail outlets this Christmas? How do you think that's going to impact the economy next year?
Yes, I mean, to be honest, it's not a surprise. There's been a concern from retailers about this, and I'm on my side as a sort of consumer-facing journalist. I talk about investing and also sort of consumer issues. I know that there's been a lot of talk about doing second-hand Christmases, free stuff for Christmas. People saying, "I'm not going to buy anything." So, you know, and again,
That's not
people
gonna
like
work
me.
with my kids, by the way. I just want to make sure that
With a lot of kids, no. And, you know, people like me are encouraging consumers not to spend too much because it's been a tough year. It's looking like it's going to be another interestingly tough year. But I think what this does is, and again, from my side as being interested in business, it means that probably in January, February, we are going to see some more names falling apart, high street names potentially going under, because that does happen, as you know. Sometimes it's in a January that we see a few names just crashing.
do you dare to name any, or would that lead to legal repercussions?
Exactly, it could lead to repercussions, right? You know, doing the opposite of Jeremy Hunt, yeah, saying, "Oh, this could be bad." So I don't want to jinx it, but I think it's just being, you know, it's worth being aware that could happen.
Sure. And also it was announced on Friday that train ticket fares are to rise by 4.9% in March next year. That's an increase that is expected to exceed inflation. What do you think, Jasmine? Is it fair? Do you get it? Is it fair? Anyway, are we getting ripped off? It always feels like we're getting ripped off.
I do get it now. I didn't get it just then. You're absolutely right. No, I don't think it's fair. I mean, really, we need it like we need a hole in the head. You know, it's yet another rise. And we keep seeing rises everywhere. I mean, I was just talking just the other day about car insurance, which in some cases has gone up by 50%, 50%. And it just feels as a consumer that everywhere you look, prices are going up. And you do wonder why. With some of them, you can think, well, if it's food, restaurants, yeah, I can see that's kind of understandable. That is, as you say, fair. But with rail tickets, every year they're going up, and yet at the same time, the service we get is worse. And we don't have an option either, because, well, we're told that we should be using public transport for, you know, net zero and, you know, being good to the planet and all that. And then it's already too expensive for many of us, and they're just making it even more expensive. So what do we do? Go to cars, or you can't? Those are expensive as well. So it feels as though we're being forced to stay indoors for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, it's the same old story. But I mean, do you have any tips? You're an expert. Tips to save us money, tips to make us money, tips of things to buy in the new year. Are the sales going to be good then? Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to exploit the retailers too much, but if they have a lot of extra stock, does that mean there's going to be some real bargains out there?
I think there will be, actually, yes. I'm sure you've seen on the high street already, the sale signs are up there. I saw some couple of days ago. Online, there are loads of sales as well. I mean, I hate to say it, but Christmas Day itself is one of the busiest shopping days online, which I find a bit sad, to be honest. But, you know, a lot of people are going there. Then on Tuesday, they'll be going into the high street, Wednesday onto the high street. There will, as you say, there will be a lot of bargains. But it's the usual rule. Don't buy it just because it's a bargain. Only buy it if it's something you would have bought otherwise, and you're just getting a cheapie, you're getting a good discount. You need to know what it would have been if it was, you know, the full price. So be careful with the sales, and also watch your purse. There's a whole lot of sale times. It's a great time for fraudsters, pickpockets, online fraudsters, on the high street fraudsters. So you have to be very careful there. When it comes to making money, there are loads of ways. And just to blow my own trumpet here, on my website, moneymagpie.com, we have literally hundreds of ways that people can make money. But the first thing I think in January is to get some of your unwanted stuff, your unwanted presents. I'm sure nobody has any unwanted presents. And other things, you know, stuff in your cupboards. It's a great time to declutter. Put them on eBay, put them on Etsy, put them on Gumtree, Nextdoor.com, whatever. Get some cash in that way. And also over the, Twixtmas, basically Tuesday onwards until the new year, that sort of weird time when nothing happens and you wonder where everybody is, and unless, of course, you're on the high street shopping. But Twixtmas is a great time to get on top of your finances. It's a good time to go through your bank statements, see if there's any money going out that shouldn't be, to switch your insurance policies, to have a look at if you can switch some other things like gas and electricity, etc. And also a time to look at your pension statements, which nobody ever does because they're awful letters, But if you can get a few of those things done in that boring week, maybe in front of the telly, you could potentially save £1,000.
Wow, I think I'll probably be dealing with a hangover, but I will definitely try and see. Well, I'll see what my mother-in-law buys me for Christmas and whether I can get some money for it. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Have a lovely, lovely Christmas. Have you got special plans tomorrow? Have you got some wrapping still to do?
I'm going to be having a lovely rest. That's what I've decided. I'm going to have a nice, quiet time, nice resting time, having what I consider to be proper Christmas. With some celebration of the real Christian values. That's what I'm going to do my best at, anyway.
Lovely. Well, enjoy, and thank you so much for joining us. Right, coming up with tonight's top pundits, is it time for Santa to be a woman? Should the King's speech have political messaging? And is James cleverly facing the sack? I will be discussing all of this with my panel in a moment.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GBNews. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GBNews. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show.
Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else.
We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride.
Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse.
It's news, but it's this close to entertainment.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 till 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panelists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. First things first, we've got some really nice emails. Thank you so much. We've got Linda. She says, fabulous, Josh. I'm a grandmother. Talking politics with my family all together is amazing. And I love listening to my 16-year-old granddaughter. Oh, you can't be a grandma, Linda. You look too young. And they're very articulate with the discussions. I agree. I've got a 14-year-old and he's clever and he repeats everything I say just the way I like it. We've got Stephen. Absolutely agree, Josh. But it's an uphill battle against those who want to silence anyone that disagree with their mantra. Yes, I mean, that's the issue, isn't it? People just trying to shut down everybody else. And he says here, it's, giving unequal airtime to the loudest, which is sometimes me, but I try to contain myself. And finally, Sienna. Josh, what a gorgeous intro with your opinion. Thank you. There's so much good in GB News and what it's doing, and the fact it's open to all opinions and has to be heard. So important. I agree with you. That's why I'm here. Anyway, thank you very much for your emails. Please keep them coming in. Reacting now to the big stories of the day with tonight's top pundits, campaigner and author Chris Wilde, broadcaster and comedian Sajila Kursi, and Yosef David, political commentator and social worker. Today, Sarah Vine wrote in the Daily Mail questioning, if Christmas is mainly all women's work, why is Santa a man? As we all know, Sarah is the ex-wife of Government Minister Michael Gove, so maybe this is an insight into how Christmas went down in their house. Speaking of, here's Santa right now. There it is. Bosnia there. This is the live feed of the NORAD Santa tracker, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, and he is monitoring, they're monitoring his movements, and it shows that he's just heading over Venice. He's just left Bosnia, so they've got all their presents, and now he's on his way to Venice. Lucky Venetians, Venezians, I don't know. They've been tracking his annual trip, NORAD, since 1955, after one child phoned the command centre asking for Santa's location. Anyway, what do you all think? Should Santa be a woman? What do you think now, Sajila? You've got a special story here we heard about before the show.
Yes, I got to play a female Santa a few years back at the Poodle Comedy Club. It was Ada Camp's kind of big thing for adults, like for adult people to come along. And I played Santa. I mean, you know, like, I didn't want to wear a white. So I said, look, I'm just going to wear a dark beard. So I put a dark beard on.
Dark is far more authentic.
Yeah, it's far more authentic. Dark beard. I was a young Santa, obviously, a young Santa before he went away. Early Santa. And, like, basically, I just looked like a Bin Laden Santa and having his adult men sitting on my gum, sitting on my knees. What would you have you been a naughty boy? You know?
I was Santa for years at my child's nursery. Like, all the kids, I kept on being there, and they would just spot, because I had to wear my glasses. I literally, one year I didn't wear my glasses, and I couldn't see anything. It was just falling over. It was terrible.
Blind Santa. That's for the disabled kind of community.
Yeah. So in your households, I don't know. I mean, you're married yourself. Do you do the work? I mean, obviously you don't celebrate Christmas, I imagine.
I am actually single.
Are you really single?
I am.
I always have this assumption. He's like a young Josh Howie.
Well, I don't want to say
those two together.
I feel like we look the same, similar age. Or something.
Oh, no, he's very young.
Are you saying that all Jews look the same? I don't know.
That's me. We've had Bin Laden Santa comments. And
now we've got
You've got to get yourself on J-Date there.
Well, thank you very much.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up my cousin after the show.
Yes. Well, steering the conversation back to Santa. No, I think that every time a festival comes around, there's a contingent of people who want to bash anything that's traditional. And as I've said before, they've gone for James Bond, they've gone for Doctor Who, and now they're coming for Santa. So I think we should keep our traditions in this country. And just for a serious quote that I love, tradition is the answer to questions that we no longer remember. Wow. If you do away with the answer, the questions are sure to come back. Beautiful. So we need male role models. We need female role models too. But let's keep Santa male.
And what do you think, Chris? Have you got a better quote than that?
No. I was going to quote Shakespeare, but I've forgotten. No, do you know what? I'm raising a 10-year-old girl, and the world is changing, and just to these ideologies and culture differences, I just think Santa can be whoever he wants to be. He's just this magical figure.
They want to be.
But you know, in my house, my wife is Mrs. Claus. She's the one who does all the wrapping. She's the one who does everything. I kind of hibernate away because I'm just useless anyway, stuff like that. But
I think that's what it comes down to. The fact is, I'm a better rapper. And I'm a better cook.
Yeah.
So that's why I have to do it all.
My brother-in-law is doing all the cooking tomorrow, so he does it every year, and he takes really pride in like cooking the turkey and stuff. And they're a great team, my sister and my brother-in-law. But there's been a shortage of Santas this year, so I went for some Santa gigs.
Okay.
Because they pay a lot of money, by the way, and they were like, no, we only want white male Santas and there's a shortage of them. Can you believe it?
It's terrible.
So guys out there next year, get that gig.
I'm growing the beard.
You've got the beard, you've got the beard.
During his annual address to the nation tomorrow, King Charles's Christmas speech is set to deliver a message about the environment. And it seems that he has an eco-friendly theme to his pre-recorded speech. An image has been released of him stood next to a tree with its roots still intact and sustainable decorations made from recyclable materials. So, what do you make of this? Is there any harm in the King using his platform to address environmentally concerned issues, or should the King's speech remain traditionally apolitical? What do you think, Chris?
No, I think given that platform, let him speak about the environment, because, you know, it's something we can't ignore. We are killing the environment. We are... You know, we're so focused at the moment on all these other things which is affecting political kind of environments and war, and we forget about these really, really important issues which he's always addressed, hasn't he? He's always been that kind of environmentalist, and, you know, good for him. Use that platform, do it. Change the speech, why not?
But do you think Yusuf, he's going to start, start small, and then next year it's going to be like, you've all got to get heat pumps. He's breaking us in with these sustainable Christmas decorations.
I've read the article that we're talking about here, and it does state or intimate that he will be trying to get his message across by having this tree there. I don't think he'll be talking about it overtly. It's important that the royal family remains neutral. I think the royal family is as popular as it is because it's managed to remain neutral under the leadership of the Queen. And so, you know, King Charles is going to have to straddle a very careful line. But he's a man who has long-standing views on the environment. I think we can expect that. The Queen would find ways of slipping in her views very subtly. And we have a new king. I think we should support our king. I think the monarchy, for me, is integral part of our culture. So, yes, he has to be careful about taking sides politically, but we should also give him a bit of rope to establish himself and his style as monarch.
Yeah,
bravo.
Interesting, because I'm a completely kind of like having a different view of this. He's 70 when he got to the job. 70, right? 70 when he got to the job. He's not going to change. So he's always talked about the environment. He's not the Queen, and we've got to get that he's got his own thing kind of happening with what you're saying, Yusuf. And I think, why not just say what he wants to say?
Exactly. Fair enough. He's the king.
But he's a hypocrite.
All right, there it is. Well, I'm glad you're going to be watching it tomorrow. James Cleverly is today facing strong criticism for reportedly making a joke at a private Downing Street function about spiking his wife's drink with Rohypnol, which is otherwise known as the date rape drug. It is alleged that he said that the ideal spouse is someone who always mildly is sedated so she can never realise there are better men out there. Now, a spokesperson for the Home Secretary has said that he apologised for what was meant to be an ironic joke in what he understood to be a private conversation. So the big question is, should James Cleverly be sacked for this? What do you think, Sajila?
Was it a private conversation? It was a reception where they had political journalists attending, and he's just made some, suggestions for, like, spiking drinks. On that very day, decides to make a joke. Fair enough. If you're in any other place, even if it's an office party, you remember those office parties I used to love having years ago illegally? Well, even if it was one of those, it wasn't. It was in his status as a politician that he said that. He's not a comedian, and so making that...
People make... Not only comedians
should he be
are allowed to make
fired?
jokes.
No, I don't think he should be fired, but I think it was wrong of him to make a joke like that under those circumstances.
But
I don't think he should be fired or told... he's apologised, and I think that's enough.
Well, he's apologised, Yusuf, but also we have to place this somewhat in context, because it was their legislation, this government, that he is putting through to stop precisely this. Surely it's actions that matter more than a stupid joke.
Absolutely. I think there's evidence that people in stressful situations use inappropriate jokes as a kind of cathartic response to some extent. But I thought you mentioned context. James Cleverly he comes across as incredibly devoted to his wife, who's been battling cancer, and he's documented this. I followed him. He does not come across as somebody who would in any way abuse his wife or drug her. He was clearly joking. We need to ask ourselves...
It's not a joke.
It's not. It was a disgusting thing to say, but it was a disgusting joke. And what kind of society do we want to live in? You know, it's seasonal.
It's not about the joke. It's about his position. You don't use that kind of lexicon in that position. Date rape is not a joke.
No, it's it is not a joke, but he meant it in a humorous way.
I think he was trying to say, of course, date rape is not a joke, but I think what he was trying to be was self-deprecating. That the only way that someone like him would get someone, you know, he's trying to pay a compliment to his wife. But it is distasteful.
It's both those things, but at the same time, I think he did the right. I mean, he did the right things. It's like I made this, like I said, in front of journalists, and the Mirror decided to publish it because they felt it was, you know, it was too juicy. Come on the day that
want to sell papers,
it's to sell papers. Like you do it on the day.
We're talking about it because we want.
Yeah, exactly. And so when there is a conflict like that, they have to report that because it's like that's what news is. But I think he made the right moves, like by apologising.
It's a position of power. You don't use that kind of language regardless.
But it doesn't mean to say he's got to resign. Like, I mean, I agree. Comedians, we do all the time. We have that, and we can have that sort of like, hey, we're a comedian. It was just a joke. But in those tense moments, yes, I agree with you that you do make those jokes. But it was the wrong joke to make at the wrong time. Yes. And he's apologised.
I want to ask you guys this: if you guys can tell me that in your lives you've never said anything in private that would have you cancelled or get fired.
Get hold of my WhatsApp. I'll be cancelled left, right, centre.
Cast the first stone.
No, I say it in public. But you're talking about green rooms. If anybody, you guys, you won't believe how evil.
I know.
Because of course it's like your level of what's acceptable has gone to a different level. You know?
I mean, really dark. And the things that we say backstage, we might not say straight after a big thing. But
I guess what we're trying to say is, James Cleverly, you're welcome to come and join us. Don't do that.
Yeah, but do the open mic circuit for years and years.
Right, coming up in my Take at 10, I'm going to have a bit of a moan about the pro-Palestinian, a.k.a. pro-Hamas marches trying to ruin Christmas. But next, top showbiz journalist Nelson Aspen will be here to tell us about the biggest stories of the year and what we can look forward to in 2024.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show.
Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else.
We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride.
Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse.
It's news, but it's this close to entertainment.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Mark Dolan Tonight with me, Josh Howie. What a year it has been in the entertainment world. We had Barbieheimer, the summer where the release of two huge movies revived the cinema-going experience for many. Meanwhile, pop star Taylor Swift reached such a height of fame that she was named Time magazine's Person of the Year, an honour which has previously been reserved for presidents, popes, business tycoons and my favourite manipulated child, Greta Thunberg. And here to talk me through this year's hits and misses and to tell us what to look out for in 2024, it's the brilliant entertainment journalist and author Nelson Aspen. Hello, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Season's greetings. It's been a terrific year. I'm very jolly. I'm going to get out of here and go see the tree at Rockefeller Center as soon as we're done because I'm here in New York City. But I have to say, if one showbiz headline dominated above all others in 2023, it had to be the strike between the studios and the writers and the actors. The WGA Writers Union and the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union. It paralyzed not only the economy for the entertainment industry, but it paralyzed viewing habits. So we were shortchanged of a lot of entertainment packages that has come back. And as you mentioned, Barbenheimer, the combination weekend of Barbie and Oppenheimer, two polar opposites kind of films, but they brought in almost $2 billion worldwide. And that really did rejuvenate the movie industry. So those would be the dominating positive stories, that they were able to work out the strike, even though it took a while, and the fact that people are going back to the theaters and seeing quality films as well.
But how is that going to affect next year? Because I'm imagining with no TV shows or films made for, 5 months, 6 months, that's going to have a knock-on effect. Are we just going to be watching repeats through 2024?
There is so much in the pipeline, you won't even notice. The average viewer would not even notice the shortfall. So that's the good news. And I think what we're also going to see coming up very soon, the first week of the new year, in fact, we're going to see the resurgence of the award season. The Golden Globes are back. They are being reimagined now that they've freed themselves from the Hollywood foreign press. And we're going to have all the award season glitz and glamour with quality films. We're going to see the likes of Maestro and The Holdovers and Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie even. We're going to see box office pleasure. A lot of times, these award shows don't recognize the commercial successes, but they've sort of changed the rules a little bit to include nominations for those crowd pleasers, and that will get more eyeballs onto the telecast, which will turn into ratings, and the shows will be better. Even the granddaddy of all the sports events here in the States, the Super Bowl, is going to be held in Los Angeles this year, and that will bring on a whole Hollywood level to the whole deal. You mentioned Taylor Swift earlier. It is her world. We're just living in her world. But the amount of success she has enjoyed this year commercially, culturally, you name it, she's taken over, including the $1 billion worth of sales from her tours, from her recordings, a new boyfriend, as you mentioned, Time magazine's Person of the Year. And I don't want to say she's the winner of the year, but we all know she is. Who's the loser of the year? This isn't necessarily my opinion, but according to the Hollywood Reporter, it's Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. They didn't have quite the success they were hoping for with their podcasts and other endeavors, but they're reimagining themselves, and we'll see if they have a happier 2024.
And in 1 or 2 words, what's the film we've got to look out for?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I think Maestro. For me personally, it's Maestro. I don't necessarily like the crowd pleasers, but I am a music lover, so I'll go with that. Bradley Cooper for Best Actor.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Have a lovely Christmas. Coming up in the next hour, my take on 10 on the pro-Palestinian protesters ruining Christmas. Plus, comedian Francine Lewis will be here for some festive fun. We'll learn how to cook the perfect Christmas dinner, and my panel will reveal their festive nightmares. See you in a moment.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather. It's going to stay unsettled through the festive period, though it will turn calmer and drier as we move into Boxing Day. Low pressure currently dominating the weather pattern, bringing further rain for many through Christmas Day, but a brief respite and that ridge of high pressure bringing dry, sunny weather for many on Boxing Day. This evening, a mixed picture out there. Outbreaks of rain across southern counties of England and Wales. Showery rain as well, Northern Ireland, Northern England. In between, clearer spells under the clearest skies of Scotland, turning chilly tonight, some frost and ice. Elsewhere, generally staying mild, and those winds just easing after what has been a very blustery and mild Christmas Eve. Christmas Day gets off to a bright start, a chilly start across north-east Scotland. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy, and this area of outbreaks of rain pushes north and eastwards across England and Wales through the day, turning heavy at times. Rain bumping into Scotland will turn to snow over the higher ground above about 200 metres. 5 to 10 centimetres is possible, giving a white Christmas here. But elsewhere, wet Christmas, mild as well, and breezy temperatures in double figures. After a cold start Boxing Day morning, it's looking much drier and brighter. Plenty of sunny spells to come, but signs of the next weather system starting to move in across Devon and Cornwall, bringing outbreaks of rain here, and temperatures a little lower for many, but mild air returns as it becomes wet and windy through into Wednesday.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on this Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show, every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
delicious?
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train. Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa!
Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panelists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Merry Christmas, Britain. OK, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. It's 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve on television, on radio and online in the United Kingdom and across the world. This is Mark Dolan Tonight with me, Josh Howie. In my take at 10, I am going to have a bit of a moan about the pro-Palestine marches. The hilarious Francine Lewis will be joining me shortly. We'll talk about the last bastion of non-PC humour, pantomimes. and superstar chef Andrew Hutton will be joining us to give us some of his much-needed tips on the all-important Christmas Day meal. It's a packed show, lots to get through, but first, the news with Ray Addison.
Thanks, Josh. Quite the intro. Good evening to you. Merry Christmas. Our top stories: police are urging drivers to take extra care on the roads following a number of collisions in the past 24 hours. In Northumbria, there's an appeal for witnesses after 2 teenagers were killed in a crash in Cramlington, and a 35-year-old man has been arrested in Oldham in Greater Manchester after a 42-year-old woman and her 15-year-old son died in another incident. Well, millions of motorists have been on the roads this weekend, with the Met Office warning of the risk of flying debris and power cuts too, as wind gusts get up to 70 miles an hour in parts of Scotland and northern England. Many rail passengers have also faced dealing with delays and cancellations due to engineering works. The number of people shopping this Christmas Eve is down by 20.6% when compared to last year. That's according to the latest data analysis. Experts say that the cost of living crisis and Sunday trading hours are to blame for the fall. High streets saw the biggest decline, down 14.8%. However, retail parks actually saw an increase in shoppers, up 6.7%. Well, tomorrow is set to be the warmest Christmas day in more than a century, with the Met Office saying that temperatures will reach 14 or even 15 degrees. That's after 15.3 Celsius was recorded at Heathrow in Berkshire today, making it the warmest Christmas Eve in over 20 years. It means a white Christmas has been ruled out for most of the country apart from northern Scotland. Ineos chairman Sir Jim Ratcliffe vows to return Man United to the very top of the English, European and world football too, after agreeing a deal to buy 25% of the club. Billionaire Sir Jim, who's a lifelong supporter of Man U, says he's pleased that a deal has been done and he hopes to unlock its full potential. The move will see around £236 million pumped into Man U. It also includes responsibility for the management of the club's operations. And Father Christmas has delivered well over 3 billion presents to children around the world so far. This is the live feed of the NORAD Santa tracker. The North American Aerospace Defense Command is monitoring his movements very closely. Shows that he's just finished delivering presents in Berlin in Germany and is now heading to Alta in Norway. But don't worry, we won't be left out. He's due to arrive in the UK just after midnight, so time for bed, kids. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying, play GB News. Now let's get back to Josh.
Thanks, Ray. I enjoy the Christmas tie you have on. Welcome to Mark Dolan Tonight with me, Josh Howie. Impressionist, funny woman and all-round entertainer Francine Lewis joins me shortly. We'll be talking about pantomime and hopefully getting a few impressions out of her. Make sure you stay to hear her Katie Price. We've got top chef Andrew Hutton giving us all his top tips to ensure you have a gaff-free Christmas dinner. My panel tonight is political commentator and social worker Yosef David, broadcaster and comedian Sajila Kershi, and campaigner and author Chris Wilde. And they'll be nominating their Greatest Britons and Union Jackasses. A packed hour coming up. But first, my take at 10. In the lead up to this Christmas, one of the most popular memes that's been going around states that Jesus was a Palestinian. Now, of course, Jesus was a Jew from Judea. I'm sure there's a clue in there somewhere. Jesus would never have even heard of the word Palestine because it was 100 years after his death that a Jewish revolt led to the Romans punishing the Jews by kicking most of us out and renaming the area Syria Palestina. And since then, there has never actually been a sovereign country called Palestine. Now, facts are pesky things to pro-Hamas activists. There's another meme out there which asks how Mary and Joseph would make it to Bethlehem on this night through the present security walls in the West Bank. What they, of course, fail to mention is that as a Jewish woman, Mary would most likely have been raped and kidnapped, with Western feminist organisations then totally ignoring Joseph would have had his head cut off. Now, all of that activity is online. It doesn't affect the real world, or does it? rival media organisations and making this big deal about how this year in Bethlehem, Christmas is supposedly cancelled, with blame predictably being directed at Israel because of the Israel-Gaza war, a war that Israel did not start. And what those media organisations always mysteriously fail to mention is how, because of Islamist persecution, the number of Christian Palestinians in Bethlehem has decreased from 86% of the population to now just 10%. In Gaza, since Hamas took over in 2007, the 3,500 Christians are now down to 1,000. And in Israel, it's the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population has actually increased. And what about closer to home, in the West? Yesterday, pro-Palestinian activists shut down the entrance of O'Hare Airport in Chicago just as thousands of people are trying to get home to their families for Christmas. And look at this clip from Australia. In Melbourne, a Christmas carol event was disrupted by activists storming the stage, ruining the hard work of the performers and marring a special evening out for families. And even closer to home today, yesterday, actually in London's Oxford Street, here we are, the now weekly outing of Islamists and far-left cranks succeeded in shutting down shops and preventing people from getting their Christmas shopping done. The Met Police then had the temerity to post online that the march was peaceful, as though intimidating shops to close on one of their busiest days of the year is somehow peaceful and acceptable. What's even more insane is that that particular shop in the clip, Zara, has absolutely nothing to do with Israel. It's a Spanish fashion company that I sometimes buy shorts from. Activists have taken offence at an advertising campaign that they feel mocks tragic Gazan civilian casualties, except the link is tenuous at best, not least because the ads were conceived and shot in the month before the pogrom against Jews on October 7th. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't any legitimate questions to ask about the conflict between Israel and Gaza. Is Israel doing everything it can to prevent civilian deaths? What's the best way of getting the hostages home? What does the future for Gaza look like? Ask these questions, sure, but don't lie and incorporate terms that don't apply, like genocide and ethnic cleansing and apartheid. Now, here's a clip from yesterday in Gaza. Oh, wait. It was actually Turkey bombing Kurdish positions. How strange to not see that on the news or being condemned by the Islamists and the far-left cranks. What a bunch of hypocrites. They're happy to try and ruin Christmas for everyone else, but they won't protest or post stuff when it's Muslims killing Muslims. When hundreds of thousands were murdered in Syria, I don't remember activists trying to shut down Christmas then. And why not, eh? Because simply it didn't involve Jews. So I'd like to say to all these supposedly pro-Palestinian activists, and by the way, I consider myself pro-Palestinian, please, it's Christmas. Leave Jesus alone. And whilst you're at it, can you leave his people, the Jews, alone as well? Right, let's hear from tonight's top pundits. Yosef David, political commentator, social worker, Sajila Kershi, broadcaster, comedian, Chris Wilde, campaigner and author. Now, let's go to Sajila, my friend first. We've had some little tit-for-tits online there.
Honey, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Who hurt you? Was it a Muslim? Was it?
No.
Because there's a lot of anti-Islamic, like.
I don't think there's any anti-Islamic.
Of course it is, like beheadings and.
Well, these things did happen.
Rapes.
Are you saying they didn't happen October 7th?
You're not talking about October the 7th in your monologue because I read it twice. And obviously, I knew today. I thought, Josh, my old lovely friend, he doesn't like some of the stuff I've said, so he's going to come in there with all guns blazing with one of his monologues. I knew it, right? And it's fine. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. No one's trying to cancel Christmas. No one's doing that.
But there are literally protests out there. We've just seen clips of exactly people doing that. Stopping people going home, stopping people shopping.
You said you were pro-Palestine, right? You just said you were pro-Palestine.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm going to shut down Christmas for everybody else.
Nobody's shut down Christmas. They're protesting, which is our goddamn right in this country, thank God, to be able to protest. And I wouldn't want to lose that, and I don't think you want to lose that. I don't think anybody was...
But what I don't want to do is to shut down the right of people to enjoy the festive period.
Shut down,
well, they literally did. That's what they were literally doing.
When the suffragettes protested for women's rights, rights. They didn't do it nicely. They didn't get their rights. Women didn't get their rights nicely and not like being, you know, obtrusive to other people. That is what protest is.
I mean, how do you think shutting down Zara is going to in any way help the Palestinian people?
It doesn't, and I've got, you know, I'm treading cautiously here because I want two things. I want children in Gaza Strip to stop being murdered, and I want the Israeli people, captives, to come back home. I want two things. I want peace.
Yeah, ditto.
I'm pro-human.
Ditto.
And people protesting, you know, I have a 10-year-old girl who wants to go out and protest. She wants to show her solidarity to the Palestinians and to the Israelis as well. And you're right, stopping Christmas is not going to do anything, but unfortunately, we cannot turn a blind eye to what's happening at the moment with children are getting murdered.
I mean, you know what you're saying about your daughter, but, you know, when you go on these marches, no one is saying, there are no posters on these pro-Palestinian marches saying free the hostages, or saying Hamas surrender, stop firing 10,000 missiles now at Israel. So it doesn't seem like a genuinely fair thing. I mean, you said
it's not a fair thing. It's not a fair thing when the IDF are shooting hostages.
Can we allow us all to have a word here? But the point is that we do live in a society where protest is a big part of that society. It's integral to the way that we live our lives. However, we should look at the nature of the protest. You mentioned your daughter wants to advocate for the Israeli hostages and for the Palestinian children. There isn't such a protest, and the reason there isn't such a protest is because these are partisan protests taking place, particularly on the side of people who are advocating for Palestinian rights. Is they're completely ignoring the fact that there are two sides in this conflict, and that both are in an incredibly difficult situation. The people marching aren't asking Hamas to do anything that would limit the conflict. They're not using their platform to say, please return the hostages, because for all the bellicose language that comes from Israeli politicians, if the hostages were released, it would change the facts on the ground immediately. And those are movements that didn't show any respect to our veterans, and they marched anyway, and I don't expect them to show respect for Christmas. And there's one more point I'll say on this, is that when children are dying, and I've seen things that are horrific and that I will never forget with regard to what people are going through in Gaza, but did we just understand it? Did we just learn that war is horrific, that war is hell? War is awful, and Hamas should have thought about that before they went and butchered the people. So murder is one thing.
Two wrongs do not make a right.
Absolutely, I understand that, but Israel needs to be able to go in and get their hostages back, and the protests completely ignore the fact that this conflict was precipitated by butchery.
Yeah, it's look, I appreciate it's a tricky thing. It's an emotional thing for all of us, I think. I mean, and we are lucky enough here we are to be sitting in safety, in relative safety. I guess for me, it's just there is hypocrisy, and maybe there's hypocrisy on both sides. I get that, you know, but at the same time, it's this thing of shutting down. There's a need. I understand that protests have an impact when they get attention, but I don't see that it helps any cause by shutting down family event out where they're all singing Christmas carols.
Well, it's interesting because it goes back to like Just Stop Oil, and I know we've done shows together where we've both been angry about the Just Stop Oil, and I've really had to rethink this, as you know, going on these shows does, right? And I do think our right to protest has to be upheld.
It's a given right.
Any discomfort that we feel as shoppers. We still get a Christmas tomorrow, but you know, all those hostages, all the people in Gaza,
the people who couldn't get to
they
their
couldn't
families
get, they couldn't get, they could get, they've got to them. They will get to them. It's an inconvenience.
No, because the airports were blocked.
Where were the airports blocked?
This is in Chicago at O'Hare Airport. They were blocked.
I don't know about Chicago. I'm talking about London.
It's more than an inconvenience. It's ruining people's Christmas.
That's an interesting point you raised, because globally there have been marches all over the world globally saying that what's happening, what is Israel's doing right now with Netanyahu, I can never pronounce his name. Netanyahu, at the end man, what he's doing is not right, and that's also you can't be deaf to those voices that are speaking out throughout the world and saying this is wrong.
I just think
and also sympathising with the hostages, of course.
Young people are angry. They're taken to the streets because they don't know what else to do.
Because I think we're watching, it's the first time we're watching a war or images unfold on social media. And I'm not on Twitter anymore because I got hacked, but I'm on Instagram. And I've never seen a dead body of a child before in my life.
Horrible.
But every night, if I'm Googling, like, I have to stop because it's like these dead children, and these aren't made up things. These are things. This is real. This is really happening in real time.
The one side, you're just having things about social media, Chris, but at the same time, I don't believe someone like your daughter necessarily is seeing the full story or understanding the historical complexity of the region.
I don't think anybody cares about the history right now. They don't care. They want. I don't think these people aren't marching because they're thinking about the history. They're thinking about the right here, right now, what is happening, and it's devastating.
One thing, and I would say, Yusuf, you might have seen the video of people protesting last week at Zara where they shut it down, where they were being asked, why are you protesting here? No one had an answer.
No.
They'd just been told.
I've been on protests my entire life, and you will always get people like, why are you here today? I don't know.
Solidarity, unity, that's what it is.
You mentioned Just Stop Oil, right? Their tactics have undoubtedly raised awareness, but they've also caused people to become entrenched and to really take issue with what they're doing. And if people want others who are outside of the movement to look in and think, oh, they've got a message which has utility, it's got value, don't interrupt Christmas celebrations. Don't interrupt Armistice Day. You know, show respect. But I understand where you're coming from. That people are angry. People want to go on the streets and to advocate for people who have no rights by what they can understand. But at the same time, we can be balanced with this. You know, so there was 300,000 people on the streets for Palestine. There was 100,000 people on the streets against anti-Semitism, and there was a march which looked at both sides, and I think they had maybe 100 people there. The point is that we're allowing ourselves to become entrenched, and we have to try.
I agree, 100%.
We have to try to empathise with the other side, and we don't need a ceasefire. We need peace.
Thank you.
What we need.
Okay, but also, can I just say, we were talking about outside, about working together in communities. Like, I do a lot of interfaith work, and I think that's really important for us to keep talking. And because what was really sad for me, and I talked about it in Mark's show before, is watching my friends and our friends, you know, kind of taking sides and being really like picking on each other, and it's like, no, hang on a minute, we're here in the UK, we're safe. We've got to stop taking on. But it is an emotive. It is an emotive thing, especially when you have children and women being killed in front of our eyes on social media in real time.
But there's an idea that I want to share. The chief rabbi said that we are well placed in this country to export the idea of peace to the Middle East. We've got a great opportunity here where the communities get on, right? For the most part, all the communities in the UK get on, and we can show that this can work, and we can export it to the Middle East. And this is an opportunity that we have, but we need to look at being overly partisan and allying ourselves with groups that only see one side.
Well, maybe we can have a little Christmas miracle. Pretty nice there. Thank you so much, guys. I know we're all emotive about this, but very respectful, and that was the whole point. Coming up, it's impressionist and all-round funny woman Francine Lewis. She joins me for a moment for some festive fun and pantomime chat. Don't go away.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panelists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Radio.
Welcome back to Mark Dolan tonight with me, Josh Howie. It's time to bring a bit of festive cheer to proceedings. Joining me now is Britain's Got Talent finalist and impressionist, the brilliant Francine Lewis. She is currently starring in Beauty and the Beast at the Eric Morecambe Centre in Harpenden. Let's take a look.
When the last rose is gone, he will die. He will. To be here.
Why do you trespass in my castle?
And Francine joins me now, perfectly dressed for the occasion. Good evening, Francine. How are you?
Merry Christmas to you all at GB News and the nation. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Have you been performing today?
I have. I've had 2 shows. I've been up since 6:30 this morning, wrapping presents, having that last panic and having a last-minute panic buy, then realise no shops are open because it's Sunday and I had to be in the theatre by 10. Okay. So, and we had 3 shows yesterday. So, oh, my God, I'm, like, trying to keep my eyes open.
Well, you were doing a good job. Their makeup. How's the pantomime going, then?
It's going brilliantly. We've had packed out audiences. Today we had Lorraine Stanley on, come in from EastEnders. She absolutely loved the show. It's been fantastic. I mean, I'm loving it. I'm loving being an evil person every single day. It's fantastic.
Do you think that pantomimes are making a bit of a comeback?
I think so. I
mean, I know they're always here, but it just feels like maybe they're... it's not like they're gone anywhere. But certainly post-COVID and people now returning to live entertainment.
Yeah, obviously, through COVID, there was no pantomimes. But, I mean, I've been doing pantomime since the late 90s, and I absolutely love it. It's what Christmas is about. I love just, you know, meeting. I love also, like, just meeting all the children after, but playing a wicked part after playing princesses for years and Snow White. And it's really different because kids are so nervous to meet you and they almost don't want to look at you. That's just because I'm an amazing actress, though.
Yeah, of course. Then in real life, they think you're going to cast a spell on them.
A spell.
And you've been signing a book as well, I think. Is that right? You're pretty busy.
This is a new book. Mine is a new book I play, and I've been doing book signings, and it's been just amazing meeting everybody, meeting the children, seeing people buy my books. It's absolutely lovely. I just love it.
Can I ask you a question?
I love it. What can I say? Oh, yes.
Well, here we go. We've got some impressions now. I was going to ask if you ever wear normal clothing. Every photo that we've seen of you is this. I'm just imagining your wardrobe.
No, I don't. I have a different outfit, all different occasions, as you can see. I was going into the price because it has been reported in the Mail that ticket sales have been slashed because I keep forgetting my lines. But that's not true. I just think their script is shit. and I want to make my own up.
We've got a little naughty word, but I should point out that it was Katie Price who said it, so you're totally fine. It wasn't you. So you've wrapped the presents. Is that all nearly done? How does it work in the Lewis household, Christmas Day?
All the presents are wrapped. It used to be very different when the kids were little. It was so magical. You know, I used to, obviously, they believed in Father Christmas, so the sacks would be by the bed.
Father Christmas is still travelling. He's nearly in the UK, so we're very excited about that.
I keep looking at my Santa sat-nav, you know, we had traditions. We always read the book towards the night before Christmas. We had little traditions. We put all the carrots and the cookies out. But I don't get to do that anymore because the kids are older, so unfortunately.
How old are they now?
Well, my daughter's 21 and my son's 17. So
okay, so it would be a bit stranger if you were still reading Christmas stories. That would be you must have had them young. That's me playing a compliment to you. What comedians are you going to be watching? Well, and what comedians are going to be watching over the festive period? Because I think for a lot of people, this is the time where they want to get together with their families, have a laugh, watch the classics.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've always loved Ab Fab. I love a bit of Jennifer Saunders.
I've heard of that.
I think she's absolutely, darling, sweetie, darlings. Absolutely love Jennifer Saunders, darlings. I'll probably be watching all the reruns of Only Fools and Horses and all those kind of things. I love comedians like Mickey Flanagan, Russell Kane. You know, we've got some great comedians. So I was only watching last night, you know, the 9 out of 10 Cats, whatever it's called, and everyone's just so funny, aren't they? And all the comedians are brilliant.
A bit that they never asked me to do it. Anyway, let's move on quickly. I know, how dare they? Well, you could probably you're like 10 comedians in one. They'd get good value for money. Any Christmas disasters? We're going to be talking about that later on, but any Christmas disasters over the years that particularly stand out for you?
Oh yes. Talking of pantos, it was I was doing a panto in Sunderland, and when pantomimes had budgets, they used to fly us there and back, and I was being flown back home at Christmas, and our plane, the weather was so bad, we had to get off the plane. And it was me, and I remember Stuart Miles, who did Blue Peter. I scared everybody on this plane. I was screaming. But we ended up getting off the plane. We had nothing. We had no Christmas dinner organised, nothing. So our landlord, where we were renting our digs from, we ended up with his family over Christmas. It was crazy. It was a disaster, but when I look back, it was very funny.
That's it. So that's the life of an actor, a life on the road. And are you going to watch any of Little Britain? I think they're also coming back this year. I'd be very interested to see if they've changed what they do, if they're going to sort of make it a little bit more PC, or if they're going to really go for it.
I hope they go for it. I mean, I think everyone's getting a bit too PC now, so I hope they go for it. And I've always been a massive fan of Little Britain, so yeah. I mean, it's having time to watch TV at Christmas. You know, when it's Christmas Day, we're all just having a laugh, playing games. I don't really watch a lot of TV anymore. And then I'm back on Panto, so I don't think I'm going to get to watch a lot of films or TV this year, to be honest. I do love my old films. I always love watching Grease. I love watching Annie. I love all the old films.
Okay, basically anyone you can do an impression of.
Yeah.
Is that
but everyone's scared of me.
Is that frustrating for your family, though? Do you just talk all the way? Do you just talk all the way through each of the films, and they're just like, "Shut up! We want to hear the film."
Yeah, they are actually. Yeah, I always commentate through the film. You know, I'm like, oh my God, even though I've seen it like 10 times, I still do it. I can't help it.
Well, I imagine you're very useful when the DVD player breaks down, or.
Yeah, definitely. You know what, Mrs. Me and my Aussie want to wish you all at GBNews a really Merry Christmas, because you're all fabulous darlings.
Very good. Wow, I wish...
Do you know what? I'm the GP, 42 years old, absolutely love Christmas. Do you know what I mean? Can't wait for a new pair of Jim Jams. I can go to Tesco's Boxing Day. It's the Essex thing. Do you know what I mean?
Part of me is kind of tempted to ask you to just do an impression of me to finish the whole show. But I don't know if you can speak that public school posh. It took me years to do that.
Listen, I can do anything with my voice. I'm a genius. Do you know what I mean?
I'm getting that impression. Well, thank you so much.
I'm totally loving it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. Have a lovely Christmas with your elder kids. And I hope the rest of the Panto is a big success as well.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you all. Mwah.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye. Great, let's see what my panel reckon. I mean, Sajila, are you a big pantomime fan?
I love pantomime.
Have you been in a pantomime?
I know. I've tried so hard to get into pantomime. They had one year they had like a Bollywood version of pantomime at Tara Arts, and I went for The Ugly Sister. Then they went.
Don't typecast yourself. Stop it. Father Christmas.
I was too old for The Ugly Sister. I had to go for the stepmum instead. But I love pantomime. I really love it. All behind you, all that. I love it nonsense, and it pays well. Again, we should be doing panto as well as Santas.
Yeah, well, that's it. And Chris, you come from an acting background yourself,
that's
right?
my first.
Oh my God! I forgot to say you know each other.
Yeah, we know each other.
I'm sorry, of course.
My first acting job, my first ever TV job was A Touch of Frost. Then I went from Touch of Frost to pantomime, and I played Jasper Grassman, a debt collector. And I always remember one of the jokes where I was with Mother Goose, and she says, "You can't get around me." It's a really crap joke. You just walk around and go, there. Everybody's like, yeah, but I love pantomime. It's fun. Get paid a lot of money as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of actors, friends of mine, it's how they make
really
most of their money for the year, really.
Yeah, it's harmless fun, and I think it's great. But I think just on what you said as well is, we don't get out to the pantomime enough at the moment. You know, I think there used to be like little church halls doing pantomimes and stuff like that. We've lost all that in the community as well.
That's it. Well, Joseph, this is, I don't know if you know, but there's the first Jewish pantomime at JW3 this year. It's not. I've got to be honest. I've never been to the pantomime before. I feel like I've missed out
you've got to
on.
take the kids.
It's part of the tradition.
It goes on till January. So you can still catch a date.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
any of the pantos. There's so many.
That's it. OK, look, I've got to be honest. I'm convinced.
Take the kids.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it when I get a discount. Right, now then, we have 3 amazing prizes that are guaranteed to be won by one lucky viewer in our Great British Giveaway. £10,000 cash, tech and vouchers. And if you haven't entered yet, why not? It's so easy. Here are all the details.
For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday, the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
Coming up, we'll get some top tips for the perfect Christmas meal. If you're struggling, we're here in the nick of time to save the day. And our panel will be nominating their greatest Britain and Union jackass, plus revealing any Christmas disasters which have befallen them. See you in a sec.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panelists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
We're late. Get up!
This Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, wake up with GB News.
For the finest festive start to your Christmas for you and the whole family.
Christmas breakfast on GB News, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day from 6 a.m.
I got you this.
Oh, good. OK, I got you a little something.
Oh, I'm sure it's nice.
Welcome back to Mark Dolan Tonight with me, Josh Howie. Not long now until the big day, and if you are in charge of preparing the Christmas dinner, then you have come to the right place. At this momentous time of year, it is one thing you can't get wrong. But whether it's overcooking the turkey or having burnt potatoes, Chef Andrew Hutton has got your back, and he joins me now. Good evening, Andy.
How are we doing, Josh?
I'm doing very well. You got your chef whites on there. Have you been cooking today?
Mate, that's just non-stop prep. Non-stop prep. 18 people tomorrow for lunch.
Wow, is that the problem with being a chef, is that people expect to come to yours?
Well, it's all family. It's all family. And that's what makes a Christmas day, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, is that your first tip for cooking Christmas Day, is to do as much prep as you can?
Yeah. I mean, tonight I've got my potatoes cooked, my carrots, my parsnips. The ham is glazed. The turkey's got to go in the oven in the morning, so is the beef. You know, the oysters have got to be shucked. We go all out.
Well, I really kind of wish I was related to you now. All right, first of all, let's talk through the turkey, because this is the one thing that people seem to get most wrong, either underdoing it, overdoing it. What is the rule?
The rule, I mean, what I find is buy a turkey crown, which is just the white meat. You can also buy the legs separately, but the crown, there's no waste. You know, wrap it in a little bit of bacon so it doesn't dry out on top. Cover it to start with, and then if you've got a kitchen probe, we're not professionals. Probe it when it gets to about 60 degrees. Uncover it and then put it into, just colour it on top. That's all you need, you know. And the legs, I always cook them separately anyway, for people that like the brown meat. But that's the secret to it, I think.
Now, is there anything more controversial than the best way to make a roast potato? Everybody has their special little techniques. What are yours?
Right. So my spuds are already cooked.
Wow.
Don't be ashamed to overcook them and shake them in the pan. So, you know, you get the bits falling off of it. And then the idea is get that fat really hot, whether it's goose fat, duck fat. I use lard. I mean, lard or dripping. Get it really hot. Put them in there, toss them around, and then put them straight back in the oven. You know, and just let the heat do the work.
Okay.
Halfway through, just toss them through, and you'll get the crispy bits. You know, the things that people always love.
So it's all about the crisp for you, and for most people, I love it a bit crispy. Salt and pepper as well, seasoning. Some people put garlic in.
All the hard herbs in there. throw your rosemary, your thyme, even a big bulb of garlic. Just cut it in half, put it in there as well, and just let it do the work on its own. You don't have to do anything. That Christmas Day is simple.
And my personal top tip is you can never have enough. You'll eat them for the next few days, even if you're... Yeah.
Boxing Day in this household is just as big as Christmas Day. It's leftovers. It's the ham, the gammon. I even make a turkey curry. I know it's the thing that people always go, your turkey curry leftover, but from scratch. Don't buy any sauces. Just make the curry. From all the spices and everything else. It's amazing. This time of year, it's all family. Get together, everyone help each other out in the kitchen, have a glass of wine.
Oh, okay. Do you order them about, or are you kind of like fairies? Keep away.
Listen, mate, I am left on my own. And the last is I've been in bed by 6 o'clock. But this year I've been told not to drink in the mornings.
In the mornings?
Because,
Okay. This isn't your start. You're not going to go all the way through now.
I've got Eggs Benedict going at 9 o'clock in the morning, Bucks Fizz and everything else. You know what chefs are like.
You know what? To get out of it, I agreed to work tonight. So I do know what it's like. One final question: Brussels sprouts, yay or nay?
Yay.
I love sprouts, and they are a passion. We eat them all throughout the year. And with bacon and chestnuts, don't overcook them. Boiling water,
crispy.
5 minutes in water. Second, refresh them, and then just toss them with bacon.
Right. I'll give them a go. Maybe not the bacon bit, but I'll try the other stuff out. Thank you so much, Chef Andy Hutton. Thank you so much for joining us. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Is there Yorkshire pudding or no Yorkshire pudding?
Oh, I've got to go Yorkshire.
Yorkshire pudding, of course, man. Yeah.
Unless I'm on keto. Take care, mate. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your tips as well. Have a great Christmas. Well, let's see what our panel will be feasting on tomorrow. Chris, are you in charge in the kitchen?
Yes, I am. I'm in charge in the kitchen. That's my thing. I've just tomorrow morning we're going to have salmon to start with, and then I'll start on a bit of prosecco. I'll get potatoes ready. Then we're going to have a beef and a turkey.
Wow.
Yeah,
doing the double.
We've got the family over from Cyprus, so quite a big feast tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah, I mean you got a big enough oven.
Yeah, got a big enough oven. Yeah.
Okay, wow,
but it's all prepped. Everything's ready to go. Wake up in the morning and crack on.
Wow, that's it. I mean, me, not at all. But that's what I'll be doing when I get home about 12:30 tonight. Gina, what about you? You cooking tomorrow?
No, I'm going to my sister's. So she's in Edgware. We'll have a big turkey. Jamie Oliver's style. My brother-in-law carves it really beautifully as well.
He's an artist.
That makes something. Sorry?
He's an artist.
He's an artist. And he's just, yes. We can't touch it, can't eat it. Brussels sprouts, a lot, everything. Yeah, all the shebangs, chili hats.
Now, Joseph, in Jewish tradition, it's a Chinese meal out for a lot of people. What are you going to do?
So I think I probably will be going for takeaway tomorrow, get a bit of Chinese, spend the day with the family. I've got the benefit of not having to deal with all the family and the traditional stuff which people have to deal with on Christmas, but I have the day off and I can have a bit more of a low-key family celebration.
Yeah, well, my kids are just not going to let me get away. We did have... This is the thing when you're Jewish, is that, like, we did Hanukkah, 8 days. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, now it's Christmas. Come on, give me a break.
My son wants Chinese. I mean, that's actually... when we were in Canada, we had Chinese for Christmas Day as well. Yeah. I think that's... And he thinks that we should have Chinese. And I was like... No, I don't.
Well, it started, I think, in America. American Jews went over, and it was like the one place that was open Christmas Day.
Chinese food,
and that was it. And then it's become that's the Jewish.
I could compromise Thai.
Okay, well, we can do it. I think you'll probably just let your sister do it, right?
Yeah, my sister. No, my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law's doing all the turkey and everything. He does all the cooking.
Okay.
And I'm doing pavlova, and my bread sauce is the best bread sauce.
All right, then you heard it there.
Nice.
You just eat her bread sauce. Coming up, it's time for our greatest Britain and Union Jackass and a few of our panel's festive memories. See you in a sec.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Mark Dolan Tonight with me, Josh Howie. It is just over an hour until the big day, so what better time to celebrate by asking my panel if they have ever had any Christmas disasters. Chris, any bad memories for you, or has it always been smooth sailing?
No, never smooth sailing. For me, it's always been an alcohol problem. Not personally, but I think one Christmas Eve I'd gone out, I'd got drunk, and for some crazy, silly reason, I'd invited everybody to the house on Christmas Day. I totally forgot about it, and I'm living with my grandparents. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like, an abundance of people just turns up with gifts and stuff, and my grandma's like, who are these people? And the thing is, I didn't even know who they were. Just random people who I'd met out and invited them back to my grandma's, telling them all it's a party, a Christmas party. And there's no Christmas party.
But you did have a party, or not?
No, I just tell them away. Grandma was going to call my grandma called the police.
That's cool, because it's like Jesus. He had loads of people turn up, but he didn't know either.
And unfortunately, Chris was unable to turn the water into the necessary wine and bread.
He wasn't old enough yet. He hadn't learned that skill.
What about you, Stuart?
Oh, God, so... early days, like we're talking about, like, you know, immigrants assimilating and stuff. So in our attempt to assimilate in the early days, my mum would get like a turkey, but she'd put tandoori spices on it. Okay. So, and it was just like, oh my God, we just want bland, Mum. Why can't you just eat bland food like everybody else? Okay. And now we've perfected it. It's like, so, you know, like we're getting a proper. But one of the other things.
You've got like a hybrid.
No, it's proper, like, it's genuine. Like we put the bay leaves inside the skin, and so that they glisten when it's all crispy crispy, the turkey outside. But yeah, growing up, we had like curried Brussels sprouts and, you know, everything was curried basically. And it was like, oh, this isn't Christmas, is rubbish. And we anyway, it's really embarrassing, but we found a box of something we thought were Christmas decorations because we weren't quite sure how Christmas worked. And then we put like what we thought were decorations because people had things dangling, and then hadn't realised that they were tampons. So,
any children watching this? That's a type of Christmas bauble, Christmas decoration. That's a good one. I hadn't even thought about that. What a wonderful. I mean, they are designed. Really.
I mean,
you can paint on them. They're very useful.
Brilliant.
And what about you, Joseph? Any Hanukkah?
So I've got a Hanukkah disaster, and we light the menorah obviously, and you've got the candles lighting. We managed to set our curtains on fire.
Wow.
And that could have been really bad, but a neighbour came and got involved just at the last minute. And I think sometimes when these disasters happen, that's when you have the most memorable experiences. And I remember we went to next door and we had the Hanukkah night with them, and it was something really nice. So these are the things that memories are made out of, actually, I think, when something goes a little bit wrong.
Yeah, well, I'll tell that to my son tomorrow as the Switch that I bought him has not turned up. So I'll say, look at what Joseph said. We're going to laugh about this. It's going to be funny. I'm sure his little 10-year-old self will be totally funny.
So I've not had some gifts turn up, and I was like, oh, please turn up before I left, but they hadn't.
I know, I feel so guilty.
Can I just bring up one thing about...
It was £30 cheaper. It was not worth the money.
And it's more cheaper when you get into the after Christmas anyway. Okay. Can I just raise that one issue about mistletoe?
Very, very, very quickly. Yeah. We're going to do some Great Britain.
Like, I miss it.
You miss it?
Yeah,
you want it back?
Because it's... Yeah, I want it back. Why is mistletoe being cancelled?
Well, right now, there's one above you and Chris Gelman. Right, it's time for our panel's Greatest Britons and Union Jackasses. Chris's Great Britain nominee is...
Kelly Welch.
Rebecca Welch.
Rebecca Welch. Yes. I've got to get the name right. Yeah, brilliant.
There she is there.
I think this is a phenomenal story. We need it right now. A female hero, especially when I'm raising a 10-year-old girl.
Very good, yes. And Yosef's Greatest Britain nominee
is Alex Batty. He's the young man who ran away from France to return to his legal guardian in the UK for a better life.
Very good. OK, and Sajila, your Greatest Britain nominee is...
It's Wham! With Last Christmas, finally #1 after 39 years. It's what he would have wanted. George Michael, who also died tomorrow. How many years now? 4 or 5 years ago now? But yeah, 39 years later, and it's one of my favourite songs of Christmas.
Oh no, I mean it's the quintessential song, isn't it?
I love it.
And it's great. And even my kids, even the little one, the 6-year-old, they're all just singing along, and you're like, where did you even learn that? But it sort of just permeates the space somehow.
Not so much Slade this year.
Yes,
Slade seems to be dying out.
But Wham is obviously the big one. It just any other favourites of you guys? Oh, Christmas, we don't really have Hanukkah songs, do we?
Well, not so much.
Have a Nagia or whatever.
I think Mariah Carey, My Little Girl, loves that one. Yeah, I mean, that's her favourite, isn't it?
I can't stand her
She's
warbling.
been dining out that.
Yeah.
You can't stand
I can't stand her warbling. No, Jonah Lewis, Wish I Was at Home for Christmas. Dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-dum. That bit makes my heart...
Please never sing again. Right. That's why you didn't get that saying, Jamie. Now, today's Great British winner is, of course, Wham! Yes. Congratulations on finally making that #1 spot. Now, Chris's Union Jackass nominee is...
James Cleverlane.
Yeah, fair enough. We talked about it earlier. I can see absolutely why you have made that decision. Yusuf's Union Jackass nominee is
Baroness Moan, who didn't declare her interests in the PPE company.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Well, she's done this Prince Andrew-esque interview where she doesn't seem to understand why anybody's upset, and she doesn't think that she's done anything wrong, and it's just entirely unbecoming.
It's incredible. And also she's like, oh yeah, I was not lying, but I lied. Sheila, who is your Jackass nominee?
Bar humbug. The government and rail services are putting their prices up by 4.9%. Absolutely disgusting.
That's
given
not Rishi Sunak, who we have on the screen.
Well, he's the government, right?
He's the government. So for you, he is the representative.
He's the representative of all that's wrong.
Companies.
Rishi, do better. 2024, do better. No, I'm disgusted. 4.9%. 0.9%. It's outrageous. Given that you can't even get into Paddington, we couldn't have got into Paddington by train today.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
She says to the person getting the cab home.
Get the cab home.
Right, so today's Union Jackass winner is, for me, it's got to be Michelle Moe. There she is. Yeah, I'm still pretty angry about the whole thing, to be honest. Right, that is me done. Thank you so much for joining us. It's literally, it's 6 minutes or so to Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we're very grateful to you being here. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be back also Boxing Day, and we have headliners coming up at 11 p.m. and Andrew Doyle, Lewis Schaefer, and believe it or not, myself. So see you then, and thank you again for joining us. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
And thank you to my guests. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Thank you, guys. Get home safely.
Thank you.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather. It's going to stay unsettled through the festive period, though it will turn calmer and drier as we move into Boxing Day. Low pressure currently dominating the weather pattern, bringing further rain for many through Christmas Day, but a brief respite and that ridge of high pressure bringing dry, sunny weather for many on Boxing Day. This evening, a mixed picture out there. Outbreaks of rain across southern counties of England and Wales. Showery rain as well, Northern Ireland, Northern England. In between, clearer spells under the clearest skies of Scotland, turning chilly tonight, some frost and ice. Elsewhere, generally staying mild, and those winds just easing after what has been a very blustery and mild Christmas Eve. Christmas Day gets off to a bright start, a chilly start across north-east Scotland. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy, and this area of outbreaks of rain pushes north and eastwards across England and Wales through the day, turning heavy at times. Rain bumping into Scotland will turn to snow over the higher ground above about 200 metres. 5 to 10 centimetres is possible, giving a white Christmas here, but elsewhere, wet Christmas, mild as well, and breezy temperatures in double figures. After a cold start, Boxing Day morning, it's looking much drier and brighter. Plenty of sunny spells to come, but signs of the next weather system starting to move in across Devon and Cornwall, bringing outbreaks of rain here, and temperatures a little lower for many, but mild air returns as it becomes wet and windy through into Wednesday.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Carson, this Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help